Welcome to Blending the Family podcast. I am your host, Tommy Maloney. Check us out on the social media. Let's get that out of the way first. Come on. Instagram and Twitter, Blending Family. Facebook, Blending the Families. Please check it out. On this episode, we're going to talk finances, and here's what's going on. My wife Ann and I are going through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. Not affiliated, just mentioning, because the past 2 weeks have been financial hell. Yeah, financial hell. Lawnmower crashed, my laptop crashed, and I felt that this would be a perfect opportunity to bring back a couple of episodes where we talk finances. So that's what we're going to talk about here. Going to replay our first episode where we talked about finance, and probably will eventually give you a follow-up of what's going on with us as far as where we're at with the Dave Ramsey class at Financial Peace University. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions, please contact me at tommy@blendingthefamily.com. That's tommy@blendingthefamily.com. Have a great day and enjoy walking your dog.
Welcome to Blending the Family, the podcast.
With your host, my bonus mom, Ann Stelling.
And my bonus dad, Tommy Maloney.
Blending the Family is from divorce to dating with kids
to the happy day, marriage.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of Blending the Family. I'm your co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Maloney.
And I'm Ann Stelling. Unfortunately, his wife.
Fortunately.
Fortunately. Sorry. Did I say unfortunately? Oops.
It's okay. I can edit that unfortunately. No, I can't.
Yeah, no, you won't.
Well, tonight's episode, special episode, because we've been doing a lot of talking about this, and one of the things I believe we talked about in our first show is we are not perfect. We're not even close to being perfect, but we can read each other's minds. Now that's scary.
Yeah, something like that.
Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about finances, and both Ann and I are huge fans of Mr. Dave Ramsey, and we try our best to follow Mr. Ramsey's philosophy. Yeah.
All right. So we at least try to read his stuff anyways. Finances. So the reason we're wanting to talk about finances is because when you talk to a lot of people who've gone through divorce and you ask them, what was it? One of the number one things that they argued about was finances. And although I truly believe that it's not necessarily the financial piece that drive people to divorce, it's the inability to communicate and to resolve the conflicts around finances.
I agree.
Because finances, money means different things to different people, and there's definitely a power to money, I think, anyways. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, it's very funny because both Ann and I come from a very similar divorce, and that is, I don't know if I should say divorce or marriage, and that is our former partners were the ones in charge of the money. Mm-hmm. And we were very much in the dark as far as the finances go and, the checking account and the savings account. And so when Ann and I got together, and again, like I said at the beginning, we still struggle with this piece because we are still learning how to be successful at the financial. And so what I mean by that is Ann and I are the ones have to go, well, I'm not going to be responsible. You're going to be responsible. No, you're going to be responsible. Mm-hmm. So that's where, again, that is huge when it comes to the divorce aspect, right, is the financial piece. And to give you a little background, what we have in our household right now is I have a total separate checking account, and she has a separate checking account. And what we're attempting to do by the end of the following month is to be able to combine and have one financial institution. And this is where I mentioned Dave Ramsey because I saw a recent article about Dave Ramsey saying that exactly what we're doing now is totally wrong.
Right. And what we had done was we sort of split the bills, but we didn't split them very easily, or evenly, I should say. And it causes stress because the person who has the most bills sometimes can't make the ends meet, and it gets stressful and frustrating. But what I found interesting, so as Tommy had said, we both came from previous marriages where our past mates were the breadwinners of the family and also in control of all the finances. And it was definitely, as I said earlier, a matter of power. At least in my marriage, it definitely felt like because my ex-husband made the money, he made the rules. He had the power. And from what Tommy has told me, it was a lot the same for him.
Very true.
And then we both, we get divorced and we're on our own. And it was interesting. What's interesting to me is that I think I get overly involved in the finances and overly worried about them. And Tommy went the opposite direction. And so we now need to bring our two ends together and try to come out with what's going to work best for our family.
And it's hard because, like Ann was saying, talking about, what does money mean to you? And when you have situations, if you, like a lot of us, we didn't come from money. So money has a different, not just money as a value, but what does it mean to you? And so I remember, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, and it's very frustrating when, for example, if the kids want to stop and get some ice cream, and you don't have enough to cover a simple ice cream cone. And so, we really want to get into this financial piece, not just for, I guess, our own therapy, but for you as well, because we know that when you blend a family, it's not just blending the kids together, and as I like to talk about, blending the pets together, but there's a lot to it. There's, again, like we're talking about today, is the financial piece, and that is huge because, like I said earlier, we're kind of doing it wrong because, again, I've got my own financial institution, Ann has her own financial institution, and then we throw in a total separate savings account, which is perfect, though, which is a good thing because it's important to make sure that you're having a savings account, and especially, hi Duke, especially with the kids and teaching the kids, as well about savings. And I just want to touch on that real quickly, is that in our household, with two younger ones, Becca and Connor, we do have a 3-ring binder that we have set up, and if you want to talk about what pockets are in those binders.
So what we did was we set up the different pockets. The first pocket is tithing. And what we told the kids, tithing doesn't necessarily have to be what you put in the offering plate every Sunday when you go to church. Tithing could also be any charities that you want to give to, or any of your passions that you want to donate your money to. And that's an easy 10% of any money that the kids get. 10% of it goes to donating or charity. Now, the kids have the option of going more than that if they wish, but that's the minimum that they can put in. Then we have long-term savings, which in our house means college savings. And then you have short-term savings, which is, a kid wants to get a video game or something. Well, short-term savings would be what they would use to save up that.
Nobody in this household plays video games, so.
Well, or hockey stick or whatever.
I just want to say, because we don't have video games in our house.
We actually don't, which is funny.
Yeah.
But, and then the last bit is fun money is what we call it. And that, kids can spend it any way they want. And then we set up the percentages. You can absolutely set up your own percentages, whatever works better for you or where your priorities are. But that, I don't want to tell you, you have to do, for us, 10% tithing, that's our biggest thing. But, you don't have to do that if that's not where your priorities are.
And I think it's important, especially if you're in a situation where you don't know about finances and you're not comfortable with finances, find somebody who is. I mean, Duke. We have Duke in here. But it's important for the kids to understand, finances. And if you are not comfortable with that, then definitely look into finding somebody that you're comfortable with and being able to talk to, financial responsibility. I mean, I remember the 10 years I worked in radio, I had no 401k plan. I had none of that. And so those things were really important to me when I finally got a real job way back in the day.
And like Tommy said earlier, Dave Ramsey, and it's called Financial Peace University, is a great program. They've got some great tips on how to get out of debt and how to stay out of debt. And it's one of many, many different options. But I do want to go back to something, Tommy, you said earlier. You were saying that you had watched or listened to Dave Ramsey and found that we were doing things wrong. And I just want to say, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I don't think what we're doing is working for us, so therefore it's not right for us.
What I mean, according to Dave Ramsey, if you're a married couple and having separate banking is what he was saying. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at right now, is that...
Right. I think that just complicates things and it's easier. But, you guys have got to, out there, have got to take a look at what's going to work best for you. And I would not want to be the person to say you have to combine your expenses and your accounts when that really is not going to work for you for whatever reason.
Well, it was weird. I worked with a gentleman who, he and his wife had separate accounts. Mm-hmm. And he was responsible for the utilities. She was responsible for the mortgage, let's say. And I found that really unusual. And then, lo and behold...
That's what we do.
Exactly.
But, what makes it even harder is because you're in a different financial institution and you go away on your trips, I have no way of, if I'm in a bind and I need money, I have no way of getting it from you.
Or if the plane crashes on Sunday, you're SOL with all my billions that I don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Your billions in debt, maybe? Oh. But what this all really comes down to is having that open dialogue about finances and saying the tough things and also looking inside you and what does money mean to you? We just had a conversation the other morning about the savings account and what the savings account meant to me. And it really wasn't fair of me to say this to Tommy at that time because, it was after the fact and I had my expectations, those hidden expectations. And my expectation was that we have this savings account and that this was, to me, that meant when you put the money in the savings account, you're investing in us in our future. And as I said, that was really unfair not to have said that to Tommy beforehand or long before then, but then expect him to have the same value. And, I think I kind of shocked him with that. I don't think he ever thought of a savings account in that way.
Well, I only had 2 cups of coffee at that time, too.
Well, yeah, that too.
Not enough. But, and you're right. I mean, here's the thing. And it goes back to when you're putting a family together under one roof, and like I like to kiddingly say, taking the Brady Bunch, just minus Alice. I mean, those are things that you really don't consider. I mean,
Right.
You really don't. I mean, I guess my expectation going to our marriage was, my former wife handled the financial piece. My expectation was, guess what? That's what Ann's going to handle. And that's not how it should be. It should be, I don't want to say 50-50, I want to say 100%, because you're both vested in that relationship. You're both vested in that family. And so those are the difficult conversations. Those are the difficult times where you really have to sit down and just go, all right, here's how much I have, here's how much you have, here's, unfortunately, I bring this much debt, I bring this much debt, and figuring it out together as a team. And, that's, poor Ann living with me and married to me, that's the hardest thing for me to grasp a lot of times, is that we are a team. I'm so used to being on my own that it's, in my world, my little bubble, it's I handle it, it's me, my responsibility, my screw up, or what have you. And so the bottom line here is, we really wanted to share with you the biggest part of blending a family is going to be your financial piece. It's going to be deciding, all right, who's going to set up the bank account, what bank you're going to use, and then going from there, and not just counting on the other person. Even if that other person is a CPA, you both have to work together, and bringing the kids as well.
Right.
I mean, I really think that if we have poor financial habits, we're going to pass that down to the kids.
Right. And, and that means saying, no, I can't afford to go get that ice cream right now. We can go home and we can do something fun, but, we're not going to go out and eat. And as a parent, having gone through the divorce, sometimes that's really, really hard to do, because you feel so guilty about the divorce and what you've put them through. It's hard to say no.
Yeah. I mean, especially if it's... Well, I know we've talked about this before on our shows, is the whole Disneyland dad.
Right.
And you feel guilty, and you want to support your children as best you can, and every once in a while maybe give them, a little something extra, but, to go behind the curtain, I mean, last year financially was a huge struggle, and our goal for this year, for 2015, is not to go and make the same mistakes we did last year. And a lot of it has to do with, honestly, the financial piece.
Well, just not talking about the financial piece. Because the funny thing is, you've never said to me before that your expectation was that I would take over the finances.
Well, you're smarter than me.
Yeah, but... No, I mean, seriously, and that thought had never occurred to me, that's why you did it. I just thought, that you didn't pay attention to the finances because you didn't like them, and because, it was so tough with your first marriage when it came to finances, that's why you just sort of, when you went free, you went free. So, and I didn't realize...
Well, and the backstory on that was, I was left with zero. I mean, when the divorce, the day I was asked for the divorce was, you're on your own. And so, luckily, I was working luckily I had a decent paycheck coming in, so I really, literally had to start from zero. And one of the funniest things I ever have heard of is something called a short sale.
Mm-hmm.
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
That's a huge oxymoron. Short sale. But in my situation, luckily I was, I travel a lot for work, so I was able to build up hotel points. And so I spent a lot of times in hotels because I didn't have to pay for them. But again, the whole financial piece, when you and I got together, it was a very difficult thing because, it was, again, a situation where I was told, whatever you can get out of this house, that's yours. And including not including the banking. So luckily I had credit cards that I maxed out.
That's interesting. That was definitely a big part of the mediation when I got divorced, and my ex made almost to the penny twice the amount of money that I brought in, and so everything was split 2/3 to him, and I got 1/3 financially. So, but one of the things that before I got divorced in that marriage, I definitely recall when he decided to take over the finances, and his little comments, well, Ann, you messed up your credit. And I did when I was younger. I totally messed it up. So you messed up your credit, so I'll handle it. You can't handle finances, so I'll handle it. And I panicked when I got divorced. I thought for sure I was going to be flat broke because, I've messed up my credit. I can't handle finances. Forget the fact that I was handling $1 million plus budget for my job, but I couldn't handle finances.
Well, that's why my expectation. Honestly, because in the position you were in at that time, $1 million is not something you sneeze at. $1 million is, $1 million.
But I hate finances. And I hate my own finances. And even though, I try to be very disciplined and I try to get online and check every week where my finances are, there's still that panic before, when I hit the button on my account and I'm waiting for it to load up onto my computer. There's that fear of, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough money in there? And I hate it. I hate being that way. But, at the same time, I know I went through a long period where because I hated it so much, I just wouldn't look at it. I wouldn't pay attention. And then you get you bounced a check notice. Yeah. And it's like, crud, it's only, the 15th of the month.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So tonight I was getting a couple of emails from our treasurer from our Toastmaster group. And I remember right around the time last year I was paying my dues, I was, freaking out, panicking, all the above, going, I hope this check goes through. And we were emailing back and forth tonight because, long story short there is, I belong to 2 Toastmaster groups. Only one of them is showing up in my Toastmaster profile. And my panic was, oh my God, that check never cleared. But that's not the case. But you're right. For me, because I get a notice every morning from my bank, and it's, okay, I've got another day to put gas in the car.
Right.
And that's the thing too is kids. Kids say they want something or they need something, and you're going, yeah, I need gas in this car. Mm-hmm. And they don't always understand that. And, maybe as parents, we're not doing them justice.
Right.
by not being 100% honest with them and not, I mean, I'll just throw it out there. Do you show your kids your financial statement? I mean, to teach them.
I don't, only because, when...
You don't want them to see the truth?
Well, no, it's not that I don't want them to see the truth. I don't want them to worry. Mm-hmm. And they will worry.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think there's teaching your kids, but without unloading and making them the confidants. I don't think that they don't need to see your financial statements.
So are you saying, though, if you showed them, and I'm saying you in general, but if you showed them your financial, would you be nervous that they would take that information and go back? No.
And I wouldn't care if they did. What I worry about is, every once in a while, I will have said, money's a little tight. And as soon as I say that, I'll get comments back from the girls. Well, Mom, I may want to, buy something extra at the grocery. Mom, money's tight. We can't afford this. And I see them getting nervous about it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to do that to them. So that's why I try to keep that away from them. Although I do sit down and I try to talk about budgeting and, like we set up the notebooks for Connor and Becca. Now my oldest, she's gotten a job and she's had to learn a lot of things and, and I've been trying to teach her how to, and it's simple things like how to write a deposit slip out when you go to the bank, when you go to deposit your check. You don't just hand them the check, although it works.
Yeah.
But, how you really should do it. And
can I tell you today, when I went to the bank, your bank,
yeah,
to make that deposit, they didn't ask for any ID from me. I found that unusual.
Well, you're not taking money out.
Oh, I know, but it's still found unusual.
So.
I like to be carded.
Oh, I know.
You comfy?
Oh. I am now.
Okay. There was a point I was going to say, kids, financial, it goes back to, when you are taking all these pieces, mm-hmm. the kids, a new mom, a new dad, I mean, the financial piece, you really don't think about it. You really don't think how big
right.
that is. And especially who, and I don't mean it this way, but whose role is it? It's both of your roles.
Right.
And again, going back to the beginning where we talked about where our former spouses, they were the ones in command of that, and then it's totally blindsided. I remember before our divorce, the company I was working for, it was one of those situations where I got paid per hour, and I worked a lot of hours, so therefore I could bill. I could bill from the time I left the home to the airport, being on the plane. It was perfect. And so I remember, bringing home that first paycheck. The first thing out of her mouth was, you and our friend are going to Best Buy and you're going to go buy a Wii. I said, what about, and I couldn't believe I said this, what about saving money? What about paying off bills? No, you need to go do this. And so it was ingrained in my head because my former wife is a controller, literally and figuratively, as I like to kid. And somebody who handles multi-million dollars, the first thing out of her mouth is, you need to go get a Wii. And I'm thinking, okay, you know better. You're the, you handle the finances, mm-hmm. so there. And I think that was a bad habit for me in the back of my head, going, oh, I bring home money, therefore we can have fun with it. Yeah. Instead of, no, tell me where our money is going. Tell me where your paycheck is going. Tell me where my paycheck is going, what bills we have, what savings we have.
Right.
And so, for both Ann and I mean, this has been, like she said, this has been a huge conversation. And this is where we don't want you to fail. We want you, when you blend those families, we want you to be all in. And those are literally the hardest conversations to have.
They are. It does. Money means different things. And you come into a relationship, if you have debt, if you don't have debt, how you feel about the debt, how you feel about your new spouse's debt, and how are you going to bring your values together with your spouse's values and make it work for your new family.
So let me ask you this before we wrap up. What is one takeaway you want to give to our listeners about the financial piece?
I would say talking about expectations. Because as you all heard, we had different expectations of what we thought the other person should do, and the other person had no clue. And so, had we not spoken up and started having these really hard conversations, I could definitely see us failing in this marriage.
Right. Good points.
How about you?
Be honest. You have to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how much money you're making or how much money you're not making. Be honest with your spouse. Even your future spouse.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
I know. Alrighty then.
Well, if there's anything we can do for you, please visit our Facebook page at Blending the Families. Also, I want to throw this out. I want to give away 3 of the kids' coloring books. And we haven't talked about the kids' coloring books, but we will. But I want to give away 3 of the kids' coloring books. What financial tip do you have that you want to share with the group? So go to our Facebook page, Blending the Families. Leave a comment. And if you're one of the 3 we choose, I will get in touch with you, and we will send you a coloring book.
Absolutely. And just in case you're wondering what the coloring books are, it's 10 Tips to Surviving Your Parents' Divorce. It was written by Beck and Connor. It's completely in their words when they were, 9 and 10?
Right, yeah. I
right
think
around
so.
there. And it's just it's a good book if you have young children and you're going through a divorce. Don't push it on them, but it can open some doors to some good conversations and maybe give you some insight as to what's going on in your child's head as they go through, some of the toughest parts of your life. All right?
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. And I hope we helped.
That's all I have to.